All right, YouTube world. Good afternoon. This is Anthony with Fiorenzo Brothers Sewer and Drain. So I am, it's been a while since my last video, so I'm making this one in reference to a comment on one of my earlier videos. So I have all my equipment out here, minus my sewer camera. My sewer camera was getting sent out for some repairs, just some incidents, where things happen, but I'm looking to upgrade my system anyway. So, but that's the only piece of equipment that I have missing here. I even have my flex shafts and everything out. So the comment, which actually sparked a really good topic to talk about. Basically, someone asked, they said, if I'm spending this much money on my drain cleaning machines, how long will it take before that machine pays for itself and I could start, feeling like I'm being profitable? Which is a great question. So there's going to be two disclaimers I'm going to put in this video at the start. So first, my equipment, a fair amount of it I did find used, so I didn't end up paying the full price of what these machines typically cost. So I'm gonna give all of the info and stuff looking up the exact new price online, so that way everyone kind of knows what you'd be looking at. I bought some of this stuff used. I found good, honest people on Facebook Marketplace that let me test out the equipment to make sure everything works and is, working well. So if you could find deals like that with honest people, I say by all means go for it. But I always recommend buying new because you need equipment that's going to work every time you use it. So, we'll start from the bottom. So obviously in my previous videos, I always recommended you want a toilet auger. I have a rigid 6-foot auger where the handle screws off and you can attach a drill. Makes your life easier rather than having to crank it a bunch of times with your hand and tire yourself out. So this rigid auger at Home Depot costs $65. So typically when you use this for an internal stoppage, I think for that type of job, you can charge from as low as $100 to $200, depending what your expenses are. But that equipment, that auger will pay for itself in one job. You can also use it if you ever have house traps and there's a clog in a house trap. You can always charge a little bit more since it's considered a main sewer line. You can get $250, $300, but you pay for that literally in one job. So I think that's a great investment to make. So next we have your handheld snake. I use this for my showers, my tubs, bathroom sinks, some kitchen sinks if they have a short drain line. So I have a Milwaukee M18. So this one I bought a couple of years ago. I was working at a company that had a tool co-op program where they don't supply your sink machines, so you had to buy your own. So this machine I was able to buy brand new, financed through Paychecks. So with this setup, you get the snake itself with the drum, an 18-volt battery, the charger, 5-piece cutter kit, a 3/8 cable, and a 1/4-inch cable. I paid about $600. I'm not sure what the package comes with at Home Depot, but you'd be around $600 roughly to buy this new. Typically, tub shower stoppage or a sink stoppage, you could be charging anywhere from $150 if you're being super low on the price to as much as probably $300 a job, depending on what the job is. But I'd say most of the calls that I'm on, they're usually in the 200s or so, mid 200s. So you pay that equipment back, you pay that machine back in about 2 to 3 jobs. To pay this Milwaukee back. So next is where you start getting into the little bigger machines. So my mid-sized drum machine, I have a TorqueMaster TM50. I have that pulled up here on Amazing Machinery. Usually runs 90 feet of 3/8 cable or a 1/2 inch at 120. So this one is my go-to when I have to pull a toilet to hit a main sewer stoppage, because my big Gorlitz machine doesn't have a covering over it. So this one does, so that way it doesn't make a mess in the house. So I use this guy when I have to pull the toilets, or you know, floor drains, kitchen sinks with longer runs, or really stubborn bathroom sinks. Sometimes, a lot of times, you can charge a little bit more when you have to bring in a bigger drum machine as opposed to a little handheld sink machine. So this one on Amazing Machinery, they charge about $12.95. Plus, you can go anywhere from like $150 more for 3/8 cable to $200 for 1/2-inch cable. 3/8 is going to be better if you're going to use it for sinks, 1/2-inch for toilets. You know, so we'll say about $1,500 for this machine on Amazing Machinery. I'd say if you're doing a kitchen sink where you have to bring out a drum machine, you could probably be charging $300 to $350 even, depending on how bad it is, if you use a smaller machine that doesn't work and you have to resort to that. And then if you have to pull a toilet because there's no clean out access, you know, pulling a toilet, you could probably even get close to $500 for that type of thing. So you can get this guy paid off in as little as 3 jobs. I'd say anywhere from 3 to 8 jobs. I think this guy will pay for itself. Also, if you have the 1/2-inch cable, that can also act as your mainline machine. I don't always recommend it, because 1/2-inch isn't always going to get through all of those tough blockages in sewer lines, but it is doable because every financial situation is different. You know, and if you're limited, you can definitely make this a mainline machine. It just might not be able to clear everything that you have to. So also with Torque Master, they have larger machines. So they have a TM 5800 and a TM 750. So those ones can hold 150 feet of 11/16 or 3/4-inch cable. That runs $27.95. With cable, you're about $3,200, which is, when I looked on the Gorlitz website, is about the same price as the GO68 HD, which is the equivalent of the model that I have here. It's just probably an older model, so I'm sure the GO68 is the newer model of it. So I think that in addition to these snake machines, the best investment you can make is a sewer camera. Like I said, I have a VizTrack 130-foot reel. I bought that brand new for $2,200. If you go on the website, the self-leveling 130-foot reel is $28.95. So they came out with the self-leveling after I bought the camera, which is like about a $1,000 upgrade that you can do. So I always recommend getting the self-leveling, because then you don't always have to hit the button to rotate the screen every time you go further in the sewer line. But what I do is I offer a camera after every drain cleaning I do to verify that I cleared the blockage, and I can address any issues that the customer needs to know about. I don't want to be the guy that comes in, snakes your drain for a few $100s, then you back up a week or two later and then you're calling me back saying you didn't do a good job. So that's why I camera every line. So with that in effect, that can bring your prices up. So like, let's say if you go into a call, let's say, I'm just throwing out random numbers, right? So let's say you charge $300 to snake a drain, snake a main sewer line with a clean out access in the basement or outside even. Say you charge $300 without doing a camera. Or if you have a camera, you can charge a higher price. So instead of charging $300, you charge, say, $500 or $450. And then you just add in your total investment. So let's say $3,000 for the camera, $1,500 for the snake, $4,500. And if you're charging $450 for every sewer line, you know, then you pay that back in 10 jobs. It adds up and can get paid off a lot easier when you can charge more per job. So that's why I offer the camera. But again, these machines I bought for a fraction of what they are new. So everything's been pretty profitable for me since I didn't have to make that bigger investment. But I think if you have the camera, I think you can definitely get away with doing the same type of work, adding a little bit more, and you can charge more, so it pays everything off quicker. That's my recommendation. So you can have a mainline machine for as little as, you know, probably $1,500, 15 to 1800 if you use the TM50 with a bigger cable, or if you pay up $3,000, or if you dish in $5,000 all in for the bigger machine and the camera, you could pay it off in as little as 10 jobs. Just a way to get everything paid off a little quicker. So next we go to my hydro jetter. So the hydro jetter, another warning, this I bought pretty much brand new. Somebody that bought it had very few uses out of it and ended up wanting to do more drain stuff, but didn't end up doing it, so they ended up selling it. So I got this for a very affordable price. So on Amazing Machinery, Boss Jet Max, we have the Vanguard 3500 psi, 5 gallons per minute, $36.95. Plus, I have the Premier nozzle upgrade and indoor-outdoor jetting kit, so that's about another $1,200. So overall, we'll say about $5,000. For this jetter. Jetting, you can easily get anywhere as little as $750 to $1,300 for a jetting job. So jetting, I mean, if you're only selling jets, you can pay off this machine in 5 to 6 jobs, easy. Overall here, obviously I paid a lot less, but the equipment here with what I have, probably about 10 or 11,000. I'm a big user of flex shaft machines, so flex shafts can kind of be an upsell for you also. The chains on each machine give you a little more wall-to-wall cleaning. So if you charge, say $200, $225 to snake a kitchen sink, if you upgrade it and do a flex shaft wall-to-wall cleaning, you could probably get $350 for that kitchen sink. So pricing wise, I have this little rigid K912, probably one of the coolest investments I made. It was about $265 at Home Depot. So for under $300, this machine will pay for itself in one use if you use flex shaft as an upsell. You can do a line for $300 to $350. Pays itself back in one job. So the K9102, that is the 1.5 and 2-inch wall-to-wall cleaning machine. The chains and the cable itself isn't big enough to clean 4-inch or even 6-inch. So that machine I'm really limited to just doing sink lines. I always recommend, if you do that wall-to-wall cleaning, I mean, I have smooth chains on there, so they're good in PVC, and then I use these little Croco heads that I get on plumbertools.com. I'm going to put a link in the video. So that way it can poke through blockages and the chains can work behind it. So that flex shaft machine, I also financed through an older company. Paid it back through paychecks. I think I paid just under $1,000 for this over some paychecks. I think now on the market they're probably running around $1,200. But same deal, you could probably still get that $150 more for using the flex shaft over a traditional cable machine. So that, going on that, you could pay it back in about 3 to 4 jobs, roughly, depending on the pricing. Like I said, pricing varies from state to state. Get a gauge at local companies, see how much a typical cleaning, usually costs. I'm in New Jersey, so pricing can be a little bit more expensive out here. And then another alternative to buying like the rigid flex shafts and the cyclones, because they get expensive when you start getting to the bigger ones. So I have on plumbertools.com, it's an alternative of a way to build your own flex shaft. So they sell the cables, and then they sell these really good carbide chains. I ultimately built this one with 70 feet of 3/8 cable, and it cost me about $750. I fully recommend them to look at, you know, more chains for your flex shafts, even ways to build your own. You can add on this carrying case, shaft to shaft connectors. You attach your drill right onto the socket, and you're good to go. I mean, it's really it's awesome that there's so many options out there. I mean, but overall, this equipment, like I said, the jetting, that's something that I was able to upgrade myself over time. But the camera is the best additional sewer equipment that you can purchase, because it adds more value to your service. Like I said, it's a lot easier to say you have an initial investment of a mainline machine and a camera that's, say, $5,000, and you can charge $500 for a main sewer line cleaning. You could pay that off way quicker than if you just have a sewer machine for $3,000 and you only charge, say, $250, $300. These prices are low for drain cleaning, in my opinion. But what I'm trying to get across is that you can charge more if you include a sewer inspection, and you can charge more just for the initial cleaning. You know, and then if customers do fight you on the price, you just say, if you get, you know, pricing from other companies, make sure they're doing the same amount of work. But that's my setup here. Everything's here except for my camera. But you know, I got my toilet auger, my sink machine, sink and shower machine, mid-sized drum for pulling toilets, long kitchen sink drains. This is always my basement or outside clean out access machine. I have my upselling here, my flex shafts. My biggest service is, you know, when customers get a quote for somebody giving them a sewer line repair because they have tree roots, I use the flex shaft, the chains cut up the roots, and then I follow up with my jetter to flush everything out. So that's my premier service, and that's where I get the money from. You know, that type of service you can definitely make a killing on when you can be somebody who doesn't always jump straight to resorting to a sewer line replacement. Can do a little maintenance. But that's overall kind of what I got. I'm hoping that this is helpful for some of you. You know, so overall, I mean, you're looking $65, $70 for this auger, pay itself in one job. You know, your sink machine, no matter which one you got this Milwaukee M18. A lot of the power tool companies like DeWalt, Ryobi, they're making little drum machines that could be used for sinks. I don't have the pricing for those at the top of my head, but typically most of these machines, they run around either mid 200s to around $500-$600 on the high end. So those machines can usually pay themselves back in about a handful of jobs, maybe two to four jobs. You can usually expect to pay that machine off. But the bigger machines, the mid-size and the mainline machine, that's the ones where you're going to be spending about you know, upwards of $1,000, probably between $15 to $3,000. You know, mainline machines, Gorlitz makes great ones. The Spartan 300 is a popular choice. The General machines, which are usually the ones that are rented out at Home Depot, those are always good. Like I said, you're probably spending a few $1,000s, and if you're charging anywhere from $200 to $500 to snake out drains, I mean, when you're on the lower end and you don't have a camera, I would probably expect about a dozen calls to maybe pay that off, possibly. But when you have more equipment to use, you have more options and more ways to upsell your service. But if you have $10,000-$11,000 of equipment and you have a jetter, if you have a jetter, you can probably charge a minimum of $1,000 per call. But that's just my vibe, and that's kind of what I see going on here. So, you know, any comments, questions, concerns, feel free to ask them in the comments. I'm an open book. I always answer as quickly as I can and try to give the most feedback. I'm going to provide a link to amazingmachinery.com. They've been pretty good to me with the equipment that I've purchased. And plumbertools.com is where you can build these flex shafts. So those are two of my biggest recommendations of websites to consider looking into. But yeah, overall this is pretty much my setup. I've been leaning towards doing a lot more flex shaft cleaning lately, due to not having a work van. Using my pickup truck, I kind of can fit really my machine, my jetter, my camera, and I usually bring one drum machine and my flex shaft machines. Since I got those new heads for the flex shaft, they're actually pretty good in using as a primary blockage removal. So that's pretty much what we're looking at. I hope everyone's doing good. And any more video ideas, feel free to leave them in the comments. And I went over kind of some of the stuff that's different with me with buying some of these used. But that's all we got. And thanks everyone for your support that does subscribe to my channel, or actually does kind of like what I have to say and the info that I can give. Take care.